Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are author Lisa Scottoline and actress Elisa Eliot. Born and raised in Pennsylvania, Lisa Scottoline, a former trial attorney and judicial law clerk, now teaches at the University of Pennsylvania Law School, her alma mater. Did you ever think you were going to be writing books?
No. I secretly always wanted to, because I'm kind of a bookaholic.
Did you give up practice to write books?
Actually, I gave up practice to raise my daughter.
Ah.
You know, I got a divorce about the same time.
Well, did you start writing then, too?
I started writing. I said, I'm going to raise this kid, and at night I wrote. And
is that what you did? You started at night?
Absolutely.
But were you using your case studies, things that were in the office?
Honestly, no. Because that's confidential, and I can keep a secret. But I did use sort of that insider. I was a trial lawyer, so what's the inside stuff that people don't see? I used that.
But so could a storyline follow from what you had in the
never.
office?
Oh,
no,
it's
not
imagination.
that.
No, never.
Oh, you've written 13 books so far.
Yes.
But are they all about the law?
No, I don't actually think they're about the law at all.
Even Daddy's
I think they're about women. I think they're
Ah.
about women who care about justice, whether they're judges or they're law clerks or they have various and sundry jobs.
So what are the different subjects?
Well, in this novel, for example, she's a historian and a professor.
Right.
And she's kind of a bookworm. And what happens is she ends up in a prison teaching one day, a prison riot breaks out, and she hears the last words of a dying prison guard, which is, "Tell my wife it's under the floor."
We know. We're still reading. It's like the page turner. What do you talk about when you say it's a page turner? What does that mean?
Well, I hope that it means that you can't put it down, which is what I do or I get fired. And I sort of think of it as, if you create in a suspense novel a really believable main character that is likable and relatable, then people will stay with the book.
So the other books are just about women?
Yeah.
Or do they deal with legal issues?
No, they don't. I mean,
they don't at
no,
all.
what's interesting, I think they were originally pitched that way, and I think People
That's what I'm
magazine
wondering.
said I was the female John Grisham, and I thought, I'm cross-dressing or something.
And what about the blonde thing?
Well,
The
you
name
know,
of
I'm
that
a fake
blonde,
blonde,
the
so
dirty
I have fake blonde.
What's the name of that other book?
Dirty Blonde.
Dirty Blonde,
Right,
yeah.
that's in paper now.
And what does she do?
She's a judge who has a secret sex life.
See, we're back to the court.
You know what it is? It's really the way I think of it is...
secret sex life.
Of course, don't we all? That I think of it as they're like me. I was a lawyer before, but none of us, I think, should be, here's me preaching, work identified. I'm a person first. And the second thing I am is a mother, actually. So that's how these characters are. They're women first, and they're really every woman. And they get into a situation that sometimes they create, and sometimes they don't, and they have to get out of it again.
And that's what that's what this girl is doing.
Yes.
Is she you? Is she Lisa? Because this girl is teaching a class in what is the name of your class?
My class is called Justice in Fiction.
Justice in Fiction, which is like, I would love to take that class.
Thank you. You would love it.
You have films, you have books,
Right.
and then you discuss the moral aspects of those
Because
things?
there's so much in popular culture about justice. And I wanted lawyers to understand it better so that they behave better when they get in the outside world.
That's really interesting. And you have a lineup for your class?
I do. I have 110 kids in this class. No, the difference between she and I is, I think, first of all, I'm not shy. And, of course, she has a choice between two very hunky men, which unfortunately is not the case in my life. But that's what she has to resolve. She's got to figure out what's under the floor and choose between two guys.
So when we're talking about her, but
Right.
back to your classes, what are the assignments? I think that's interesting for people to know.
Well, you know, we look at like the relationship of The Godfather to Watergate. For example, when law turns on its head, that happened in fiction about law, too. And so they have to read The Godfather. When I go back, they'll be reading The Firm and watching Devil's Advocate. I've decided Al Pacino is all about justice.
My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, My Cousin Vinny is...
Do you bring the films to school?
I
Or
do.
They have to, I
do.
do.
Well, because My Cousin Vinny was important, and that's because it introduced humor into the character, and it warmed up the concept of who a lawyer is.
And then do you have discussions on it?
Sure.
Moral issues? Do
We
they all agree? Agree
No,
to disagree?
thank God. They're lawyers, so they must fight, and we love that part.
Uh-huh.
And we discuss in each story, whether it's Merchant of Venice or Daddy's Girl, you know, is the result at the end legal, moral, right, just, and fair. And
So
of course, there's opinions all over the lot on that.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when we read your book, can we go through the process with you? How did you start it, and how long did it take you to write it?
I don't write with an outline. I mean, so I basically have an idea. This idea was hearing last words.
Uh-huh.
And I thought,
Oh, you start with that.
That's all I start
like
with.
That's the main gist of the whole book.
That's right. I have
Everything
nothing
keeps
but
going.
that. And
Should
go,
I tell him? Shouldn't I tell him?
How do I tell?
Right.
What
Right.
you know, in this, I interview, do research, go to an EMT, he said, I regard when I hear last words as a sacred duty. So that's how she regards it. All my research goes into the novel. And basically, she's got to deliver that message, figure out what it means, and of course, before she knows it, she's framed for murder and running for her life.
How do you write? Do you have a computer?
I do, of course.
Well, I don't know. Some
oh,
people
no, totally.
still longhand.
I know, I can't
longhand.
imagine that. Although I can't type, so I do this. 14
so
books.
It takes you long.
I do this. It takes about 7 months to do a first draft, and then about 3 more months to do the edit, which is fun for me. I like the edit.
So do you do your own editing?
Oh,
do you
absolutely.
rewrite? Do you,
Oh.
Are you constantly doing that?
Yes. I mean, there's 300 drafts that goes into that.
And then when you give it to the publisher, how far along is it?
I don't show it to anybody for 10 months. Not that anybody wants to see it. And I show it to my agent and my editor at the same time. And they both give me feedback, and which I can or may not listen to, but usually I do. And then
But your
that's
editor
done.
should know, right? What the publisher is going to want? The
Well,
editor is the publisher, right?
For me, the editor is the, and I've been with the same editor for 14 years now. It's my longest marriage.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
14 years.
And she's terrific. However, at the end, it's my voice, my story, and it's my name on the front, and we all, it lives or dies with me, really.
Is it your family?
Oh, absolutely. It's
Your father?
It's
Your father,
the
like,
line
telling
between
you-
fiction and reality.
Here
It's
you
a
are.
blurred in my life.
Here's this woman teaching school. She's a lawyer, and she's got her father telling her what to do.
Right.
She's got her father running her life.
Right.
And you're so frustrated.
Right.
Or you are.
Well,
I keep thinking you are.
Well, what she has to do, I think a little she is every woman, because I always think of this. When someone says, what do you want for dinner, you will probably say, I don't know, what do you want, right?
Uh-huh.
That's what we do. We're wives and mothers.
Exactly.
And she's a little like that, too. She has to find her voice.
One of the great things I think you do are these book clubs.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, you've got them all over the country.
Yeah,
Tell me how those work.
Well, thank you.
Because you're very involved in them.
I am. I mean, well, what they'll do is we'll do a phone interview where if they want, you know, I figure I'm the horse's mouth. So
how do you
every
find
week
the
I'm on
book
the phone.
clubs all around the country?
They find me. I have a website,
Oh, they find
Scottoline.com, and they'll email, and I answer all the email, which takes a long time, and say, you know, our book club's reading you. We do a book club contest where I fly out to see the winner.
That's what's amazing. How do you do the book? I mean, do all these book clubs compete against
Yeah,
each
they
other?
enter. Well, all you have to do, it's a random drawing. They just hold up a picture of everybody in the book club holding the book, which
And
is
then
very
you pick
cute.
it?
They hold their dogs. The dogs hold the
I
books.
saw this picture.
And then I
That's
pick it
great.
out of a hat and I visit. And the losers,
And then you go?
I go, and the losers get to come to my house. I've had 150 people at my house last year.
You go to the winners, and the losers come to you?
Yes.
And you cook dinner?
No, I order dinner.
Oh, no. I hear you're like the great Italian cook.
Well, I like to cook, but I didn't cook for that.
Not for any of your book clubs?
No.
You have
I wrote them a book. Joan, what do I have to do?
You wrote some of those recipes out. You have this like
I do.
fabulous recipe for, well, the Italians call it what, gravy?
Yes,
You call
gravy.
it sauce.
It's tomato. You guys call it tomato sauce. It's really gravy, as we know.
So what do you? So tell us that great recipe. Is
You
it
know,
one of the books?
No.
Oh, it's not.
But my mother's recipe is on my website. But you know what my tomato sauce recipe is? Cold tomato sauce in a blender with olive oil on top of hot spaghetti. It's phenomenal.
That's it?
I'm telling you.
What kind of a short recipe
It's
is
for
that?
busy women. You know, we're all busy.
Just
That's what I do.
basil, no basil?
Fresh
no?
basil at the end.
Uh-huh.
A little bit of chopped garlic. I'm hungry.
And then you just do hot and cold.
Yeah, it's actually dynamite. Try it.
So that's one of the things I have to try. Yeah, so tell me what else your book clubs do. Do you send them questions?
They're on the website.
Oh, so they pick up everything
Well,
that you've written, though. You've written all
Absolutely.
these things out.
Well, you know, book clubs now they're so terrific because I really think that books are a way to unite people. You know, people find common ground in fiction. That's really, in a way, its highest and best purpose of all the arts, in my view. So they find you, and now everyone's so computer literate. They're on the website. They ask the questions.
What about our problem with our libraries closing? You just came from the Northwest doing book signings and on a book tour, and a lot of libraries in Oregon are closing all up and down. I mean, what can we do?
Well, we can do a lot. I do a lot of library fundraising. In fact, I auction off names in the book for various libraries, so that they give the library the money, and I have put that person's name in the book and make them a good guy.
That gets me back to product placement.
Okay.
Because do you get paid to put anybody's name in the book?
No, would never, ever, ever, ever do that.
But could that cross over where if you put somebody's name in the book and that money, or they would pay to have their name and give it to a charity? No?
There are limits. I would not do that. I mean, there are occasional brand names in here, and they're used to...
Well, you talk about Cartier, and you talk about Hermes scarf. She like, stuffs her scarf into his bloody neck.
I know.
I know, but it's so visual. Or she's carrying a Cartier something.
She carries a Coach bag.
Yeah, she carries a Coach bag.
But that characterizes her, doesn't it? It's a person who carries Coach, generally younger, kind of hip, but practical. Everything in there, and there's not a lot of brand names.
But the Hermes scarf that she wears reminds me of a little bit of an executive woman wanting
to
have something and a gift.
It all characterizes her. I mean, you know, so that's why I would never do that in a novel.
But one of the things I saw is that the libraries are starting to open up and to bring more people in. Like having coffee shops and having computers for the kids. Well, or making them into bookstores.
Because what's so important about libraries is that they're fundamental to literacy. You know, which is fundamental to democracy. It's not just about a single book. It's about children reading. So I do a lot for them.
So we don't have product placement.
No, we don't.
But we have...
We think that's evil.
Interesting, the way you write. Your thoughts come first. What you really think, what your character really thinks, then she speaks something else.
Well, that's
what
true.
Kind of
what a careful reader you are.
What is that? What kind of style
I kind of wanted,
that?
because for me, as I was saying at the page turner, you really want to identify with the main character, and the way to really make her chummy, and the entire novel is told in her point of view, then you can be privy to her thoughts. And one thing you notice about this character is she doesn't always say what she thinks. Right? Someone asks her a question, she wants to say no. She says yes.
She says no, you write no in italics, and then she goes on and says, oh yes, open the door, do what you want.
Exactly, which I think I'm like that. There's lots of times I'd love to say no, but I say yes.
Now what about Court TV? You have your books? Or you?
Well, both, kind of. They are doing a show called Murder by the Book. And so they did the first series, which was you pick out a murder that resonated with you. And I picked out a murder that happened of a young single mother, since I am a single mother. And it was with Michael Connelly and James Elroy, and we did a little TV series.
Oh, were you with James?
It was fun.
He's a good talker, isn't he?
He's terrific. He's terrific.
But is that a way to get people motivated to read, do you think?
I hope so.
Because we need people to be motivated.
I hope so. Well, I think if you make people understand that it's just someone telling you a story, and we all love to hear stories. That's what movies and TV and plays and all the wonderful stuff that you have on the show are about. That's just great.
And it's hard to tell a story.
Is it? I don't think it is.
People who write stories, like, I'm a journalist, but I need the facts to write my story. You guys can make them up.
No, but when you go home and your husband, the lawyer, says to you, Joan, what happened today? You would say, a story.
I tell him the story. But those were all based on facts that happened during the day. I couldn't make up anything. You could make up
everything. Telling him, well, maybe. I don't know. I'm even just a better liar than you.
You know how to make them up. So I thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It's been fun.
And keep making up these stories for us. I will. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Elisa Eliot. Hi, welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with actress Elisa Eliot. Elisa was born and raised on the East Coast. She spent her teens in Houston, Texas, and she majored in drama at Yale. Let's go back to Houston. Before we get to Off-Broadway, You were at the Houston Grand Opera. How'd you get there?
Well, you know, I was really young, but I was really into performing, and I didn't know where to start. So I had this voice coach, and she told me, you know, the children's chorus at the Houston Grand Opera is auditioning. So I just went to the audition, I got in, and I loved it. I was hooked.
How great. What, because it has such a fabulous reputation.
It does.
And is your family musical?
You know, not really. I think my mom can sing, but she doesn't do it very often. She's very shy.
And you can sing really with a boisterous voice?
Yeah, when I was little, everybody was like, such a big voice coming out of such a little girl, because I'm only 5'2", and back then I was this
really
big.
short. But so did you went to voice training, though? Obviously, your mother
did.
knew that you had something to work with.
Yes, I did. And you know, when I was very little, they tried to get me to go when I was 3 or 4, and I said, no, 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 I won't go. But then as soon as I got a little bit older, I realized how much I loved it, and they took me to the voice coaches, and I sang with them, and then I did all the productions I could.
At Yale, you did a lot of work.
I did. I did about 5 to 10 shows a year at Yale.
That's really, how do they mount that many shows?
Well, you know, some of them are mounted by professors, but most of them are all student-run, student-directed. You have to get the rights yourself and put it on and cast it yourself, so it's a great experience for the real world.
So did you learn all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then you went to New York. You did some off-Broadway?
I did. I did a couple off-Broadway shows, a lot of original work. One was called Bells of the Mill, where I played an Irish mill worker. That was really fun.
So did you have to learn a dialect?
I did. It was Donegal Irish, specifically.
Specifically, so you get a voice coach in?
Yeah,
or
you know,
accent coach, what?
We had a voice coach in, and I just taped everything she said.
Oh.
And she was actually from the area, so I just ran my tape recorder, recorded everything she said for a couple of days, and then listened to those tapes pretty constantly until I
And you
ran
came
the
up
show.
with it right away? You could come up with it easily?
Yeah, I think
So
the
great.
musical ear helps with the dialect.
So commercials and TV brought you to L.A. then?
It did.
From New York? Why,
It did.
you didn't want to stay there anymore?
Well, you know, I did, but I also was interested in trying out film and television and commercials, which I didn't really have access to in New York, because there's just not as much of it in New York. And plus, the weather out here is wonderful, so when I visited, I was like, oh, done.
And did you break in easily? You did a lot
You
of
know,
commercials, I think.
I did, and you know, right when I got out here, I found it kind of hard to navigate the system and how it works and how to get an agent, but once I got all that settled, it, you know, came pretty naturally, and I loved it.
And how did you navigate that? A lot of people don't know how to do that.
You know, I asked a lot of questions. Everyone I knew, I was like, how does this work? How does this work?
You mean friends, or when
Friends,
you're at the studio? Or what?
everyone who was auditioning, casting directors who I'd meet.
Were you taking acting classes?
I did. I took acting
so
classes.
then you'd ask those people?
I would ask those people, and I
see.
was in a very great group of people when I first moved out here, a bunch of real professional working actors, so I could pick their brains a little bit
So that
too.
helped. Did you continue studying acting and singing when
Absolutely.
you came out here?
I did, absolutely.
Did you continue your science studies because you were a grand prize winner? I think that's so funny.
You know, I haven't really continued it, but it is still a passion of mine. Every time I see a role that has anything to do with science or scientific stuff or doctors, I love those roles. I think they're so fabulous and interesting.
Tell us what that state prize was for.
Well, I invented a way to exterminate termites.
How did you do that? That's
Well,
so bizarre.
You know, I was thinking of a science project. We all have to do a science project at my school, and if you want, you can take it to the fairs. So when I was thinking about it, I was reading these books, and I read a book on termites and how they use protozoans to digest the cellulose in the wood that they eat. And so I decided to go about, you know, exterminating the cellulose and the protozoans instead of the termites, and it worked out really well. I know.
It worked out well enough that you won a prize.
Yes.
And I think it's so funny you kind of tag that on your bio, and I can get rid of your termites for you, too.
You know, a lot of people ask me about that. You know, I thought it was just a funny fact to show that I'm kind of diverse, but everyone says, you know, I have termite problems. What can you do for me?
Oh, that's great. So you do continue singing.
Yes.
And your singing is continued in this new King Calamari by
Yes.
Derek Taylor Kent.
Yes.
What is that about?
King Calamari is a wonderful musical comedy, a fantasy, really. kind of along the lines of Into the Woods or Spamalot. I think it has a lot of Mel Brooks kind of comedy in it. It's very silly, a bunch of wonderful, diverse characters, and I think everyone will really enjoy it.
It's all original.
Totally original. It's a world premiere musical.
And does it have, do you have any aspects of love, I was thinking, expectations of where it might go?
Well, right now we know we have quite a long run at the Avery Schreiber Theater starting in April, and from there it could get extended or it could go to New York. There are just a lot of possibilities for it.
How many people are in the cast?
Oh, the cast, I think it's 21 people.
Wow.
I know, it's a big cast.
Is it a small stage too?
It is, you know, it's wide but kind of short. So, and it's a very small theater, but I think that's great because there's such dynamic personalities on stage. You feel really close no matter where you're sitting.
One of the things that you also have is an acting studio. How would a young actress like you start an acting studio, and what does that entail?
Well, you know, when I was out here, I found that I was working with people all the time, teaching acting as well as acting in the plays. And
But why were you teaching them? Just because they were your friends?
you know, they would ask, and they'd say, "Can you help me on this audition?"
Oh, I see.
And or can you know, help me with my lines to do this? And I found I really loved it, and I was really helping people. So one day, I just put up a website, and I offered my services on set and off set, and I'd already been working on set at a bunch of major motion pictures.
You don't have a building where you have an acting studio, per se.
Well, I do have a building, but right now I've had to rent that out because I am working so much on Derek's play, King Calamari, as well as on other projects.
So when you go on the set to coach somebody, is that what you do? You would go on a set of some major film?
Sometimes that, and sometimes right in my living room.
What do you do? What do you show them to do?
Well, first we look at the script, and we see what the script has to offer. And I use a very text-based analysis, so everybody knows what to do. They write down their objectives and their tactics on their script, and then we take some different methods to it. We see, does Meisner lend itself to this script, or maybe does Uta Hagen, Stella Adler?
But what styles are those?
Those are...
You have to know those styles.
Yes,
so
I
you're
do.
the teacher, right?
I am.
I see. So you look at those styles? Different styles of different teachers?
And a lot of different exercises that come from, you know, Meisner's theory or, you know, Stanislavski's theory. And I say, oh yeah, this will work really well with the CSI drama because it's very small and very charactery. So I pick a method and then we work on it.
So you continue just in that stream of consciousness or thought or direction.
Right, and then sometimes, you know, when I work on soap operas with my clients, I love to use Michael Chekhov. Just because he lends himself so well, and people are like, Michael Chekhov for soap opera, but he,
I know,
but he does, you know, a lot of gesturing and movement and kind of hiding. He talks about the big giant and the little giant, and he says we're all little giants, but we all have a big giant standing right behind us or right inside of us that's really thinking all these crazy things and emotional things. So I love to use that with soap opera since everybody's holding in a lot of emotion.
Can you tell when you're working with someone like that if they should be a musical star, they should be an actor, if they shouldn't be working at all?
You know, sometimes it's very easy to tell right away. You hear one line and you're like, oh, this is your forte or this is not your forte.
Can you tell right away?
You know, I can, but sometimes it surprises you how if you work on a scene for a little while, how much growth a student can have.
So you can't just look at somebody and say, or you shouldn't just look at somebody and say, oh, she's a failure, she's not going to get anywhere. You want to actually help them pull out what they can?
Absolutely, and everybody has it down inside them, as long as they're not, you know, we all have that little black box that criticizes ourselves. If you can get rid of that and you can really open up, you have a lot of chance, you know, in the industry to work.
Did your teachers work like that at Yale, so that you followed the same kind of ideas?
You know, some of them did and some of them didn't. Mostly at Yale, teachers specialize in a certain method, and I've taken all of those methods and I like to use them all.
Why didn't you continue as an opera star with your great voice?
Well, you know, I I love doing opera, and I've just kind of been on the LA Opera website, so I might go to some of their auditions. But you
Really?
know, I would love to. And you know, it just when I got out here, my career path went a different way. But I definitely want to get back into it.
But is it easy for you to then sing opera, even though you're singing, say, in King Calamari or other musicals on stage? Is it the same kind of what?
Vocal range.
Yeah, right.
You know, it is. It takes some tweaking. You know, you have to open your voice and your kind of diaphragm a little fuller for opera to make a bigger, more resonant sound than in a small space like we have for King Calamari. But it's very small distinctions.
Is it?
You know, yes, it
seems so different.
It does seem different, but you know, it's all, you're creating a character. I think a lot of people forget that in opera. They think it's just about the beautiful music, but you are acting, and there is a story and a character.
Well, that's the thing with, I guess, that differentiates a good opera singer, even if she has a good voice,
right.
if she can act.
Absolutely, because...
And they end up with so much stuff on.
That's true. That's true. The costumes are so heavy, you would not believe. I think I was wearing, in the last opera I did, a 70-pound dress.
Really?
And, you know, it had support, so I could walk around with it, but it was heavy. It was a good workout.
And then, but you still have to remember how to move around and how to sing.
Absolutely. It's a lot to think about.
But in Derek's play, what kind of costumes do you have?
Well, I'm playing a French maid named Aquafina. So
Aquafina.
My character wears very little clothing, very covered, but, you know, a very cute little maid's outfit. So that's not hindering me. Maybe the high heels will.
It's not, you're not under the water, though.
No, no. No, not at all. I mean, there are scenes that happen under the water, but I'm not under the water.
Well, we're going to watch for that, and we're going to keep watching for you, especially at the opera.
Oh, wonderful.
Will we be able to hear that voice?
I hope so. We'll see. Hopefully in the near future I'll do some opera.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. We'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.